issues with them.
This week on Erotic Awakening, Buddhism and kink, when polyamory is because you are not, and BDSM for dinner.
Did you know Dan and Dawn, that's us, have a new book in the works? The Polyamory Toolkit is a book that focuses on specific tools people can use to address the common issues and deeper aspects of a polyamorous relationship.
This work includes such topics as jealousy, compersion, communication, mitigating triggers, creating a solid foundation, and so much more.
Support the launch of this book by grabbing yours prior to its wider release and get special perks.
Head over to eroticawakening.com to find out more.
Welcome to Erotic Awakening, an exploration of all things erotic. If you are offended by adult topics or prohibited by law, we recommend you stop listening
Win-win
right now.
Hi, Dawn.
Hi, Dan.
Today on the podcast, we're going to be talking about Buddhism and kink. If you're watching the video right now, you'll see the Buddhism part.
You're in your robes on camera for the first time.
And we are also going to be talking about having BDSM for dinner, or what we're actually going to be talking about there.
Right.
But first, we're going to start off with this question of the day. Dawn, sometimes we talk about the advantage of polyamory is if you have a partner that is into something, like say, for example, I am into board games and you are not.
Lie.
All right, let's do it backwards. Let's say you're big into board games and I'm not. One of the advantages of polyamory is that you can go to one of your partners and go play board games with them.
True.
Let's do something a little more realistic.
Okay.
You like the roller coasters, and you like
I love the roller coasters.
and you like going on roller coasters with a partner.
I do.
I do not like the roller coasters.
I do not like roller coasters.
Therefore, polyamory is a benefit to you in that you get to go with your partner, Big D, and go do roller coasters.
And he's even more into roller coasters than I am. There's something he'll do that I won't do. But yeah, it's actually nice to, we did that for our anniversary over the summer. We went to Cedar Point for the first time.
And let's push this to a little more of a thing.
Okay.
You like a particular sexual activity that I don't do with you very often.
True.
And Big D likes that more than I do, or apparently does it more than I do.
True.
So the question of the day
I don't like admitting to this because I'm not so sure
I know, right?
how you're going to handle it
and that's the reality of it. It's a little uncomfortable, right?
Yeah.
But the reality is, this is what we recommend to people, that the advantage of polyamory is if you have different, whether it's sexual or, you want to go to a bluegrass festival and I don't want to, blah, blah, blah. Polyamory will give you the opportunity to still express yourself.
Very true.
Now, here's our question of the day.
Okay.
How do you handle that?
How do you handle that?
Because the flip side of that is, how do you handle being the partner that your partner's off doing something because you're not willing to, or you don't have a taste for that, or how do you get away from not feeling like from that feeling of not being enough?
Oh, that's the real question.
Yes.
How do you get through that feeling of not being enough?
I snuck in there from the back.
You did.
To get
back.
there. Yes. Little double entendre there.
So, it's actually a good question. And I'm trying to think if I have a lot of experience with that, because you and I are actually very compatible. So there's not much that you are into that I can think of that I'm also not interested in.
Things that I enjoy doing that you don't enjoy doing.
Right. I can't think of much of anything except the Buddhism thing, but I'll still tag along to meditation and the temples and stuff like that. So, but that path is your own. And
it's also kind of a solo pursuit anyway. I don't really need a partner to go with me. Too.
Right. So I can't think of much of anything that you're into that I'm not at least interested in. I only have the couple of things. I've got the roller coasters and maybe wine tasting or something. Yeah. And I'm not really into wine, but D is kinda. So it's an experience with him that I wouldn't have with you because you don't do alcohol. Right. So
what was the other little thing? It's just a little thing. Roller coasters, wine. Oh, double penetration. That's one of those things I'm not into either, right?
Oh, true.
So how do I get past the feeling of being inadequate or not being enough when you have to go off to have your sexual stuff fulfilled or your social stuff with another person?
I don't know. That's a question for you. Like I said, I don't know that I have a lot of experience with it. I'm even trying to think of Big D. I mean, he does things. He goes off and does things with his wife that I don't do with them. So I don't get a feeling of not feeling enough.
Here's how I handle this.
Okay, so good. I want to hear how you handle this because I don't have that experience yet, but I know the universe and it laughs at me a lot. So something will come up.
First off, it's the understanding of it's not so trying being somewhat selfless. It's not all about me, right? And this is a key to compersion to work, that feeling of joy in another person's joy.
Right.
Is can you feel happiness for that other person prior to you realizing that it's not about you, that you're not getting something out of it? Pure happiness for the other person without the fact that you don't benefit from it, right? So you have to cultivate that feeling of, and when you realize that you're not feeling that, to take a look at yourself and say, is it because I am envious or angry that my partner is enjoying something that I'm not involved in? Or is it because it's not about me? Where's mine? You know?
So I do go through that sometimes, but it's not because you're doing something with someone else that I won't do. There's some stuff that you do with other people that I do like to do.
Yeah.
But you do it with other people instead. So I can still go through that. Why? Aren't I good enough? Aren't I worthy? Don't I do well enough? Things like that. So,
but I want to stay focused on the things that I won't do sort of stuff.
Right.
And the reality is, I could go do a roller coaster with you. I am not physically incapable of it.
True.
I could go do, now here's an interesting, I can't do wine tastings with you. I am medically unable to do such a thing. So the reality is, so part of it is when we step away from our ego attachment to it, right?
Which is hard.
I don't want to do roller coasters. So why wouldn't I be happy that you're doing that with someone else? I don't want to go do, I guess I kind of want to do wine tasting.
Just for the experience?
For the experience of it, but I recognize that I can't do it. And again, it's not about you going off to do these things. It's about my stomping my foot, saying, my medical condition prevents me from going to do these things.
Right. And I understand that. So, but I'm sitting here also thinking that I wouldn't want you to go do roller coasters with me. I would love it. If you ever decided you were going to go try roller coasters, I would love to be that person that would be like, let me go show you roller coasters, right? But knowing you don't like it and haven't for years and years, I don't think you're going to change your mind. So I wouldn't want to drag you along. For one, right?
Right.
Are you writing something on a bucket list? You're going to try a roller coaster?
Absolutely not.
Magnum. So, but so you would have to get to the point of it's not about me. I want to be happy for my partner.
The fun part is, the step back and say, unlike the situations you're talking about, for me to step back and say, I don't really want to do this. The things that you're doing with Big D, I don't want to do them anyway.
Right.
So that's part of it, is just to realize that. The other part is that this is very healthy for you to experience life. There's no reason for me to be clinging to you not experiencing life just because you can't do it with me. That is, on the surface, it's selfish. But if you look a little bit below that, it's actually a fear response.
Right.
If you're off doing those things and enjoying someone else's company, then what do you need me for?
I see. I get that feeling totally.
Yeah.
So you sure you don't want to do that whole drop out of the sky thing that you took video of me and Big D doing?
Positively sure.
So, but it's a good point though, right? Do you want to hold your partner back from doing things that are fun?
Right.
You have to get over that fear, and it's hard.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
But the solution is, it's all about self-examination. It's about recognizing why we don't want our partner to do those things. And it's not about and to recognize, I like to step back and say, all right, what's the foundation here? What's and we talk, and actually I've been just working on that in our new book, just to plug that, the why are we doing polyamory? I want you to be happy. I want you to be fulfilled. I want you to experience everything life has, right? Regardless of the whole Buddhism thing, I'm not so sold on this multiple life thing, right? So let's assume this is your only life. So why would I don't want to hold you back on any experience that you have. When you go off and do those things, right? If I feel threatened, or if I feel selfish, or I feel what about me, or I feel blah, 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 for me to recognize I feel those things, I need to examine that. I need to say, okay, I want her to be happy. I'm feeling lost, or I'm feeling threatened by that.
Or left out.
Yeah. So what do I do with those feelings of being left out? And that takes it a step. It's not about what you are doing. It's about the feeling of being left out. Mm-hmm. And that's something that I can, we can approach and address and play with.
Exactly. So, and to plug the book again, we actually talk about some tools that you can do that, right? When I've had those feelings, I use the mantra. If it's the wham moment, the what about me, I've got other things that I do. And because a lot of us do go through these things. We do know of a few people that swear they've never been jealous before and don't need these tools, mm-hmm. but most of us do.
Yeah.
So,
and it's not always jealousy, but it feels like jealousy up front. Right. And then you realize it's actually fear could be something else.
So I wanted to actually touch on something that you just said, though. You said you didn't know if you believed in this multi-life thing, right? That we get to come back. I actually had someone, we were at an event and you said that. I want to say it was Kansas City, and I'm not sure. And someone walked up to me and goes, "You're a pagan. Can't you help them out with that?" And I'm like, you know what? I don't know that I believe in the multi-life thing. And then, actually, you know what? I do. I think I do believe in the multi-life thing, but I don't remember any of my past lives. So it's just like I only have one.
Right.
I don't remember the old stuff. So this is it.
Yeah. If the religions where you die and then you go to some afterlife is the reality, mm-hmm. then you only have one life.
Right.
If the atheist, you die and then you turn into atoms and you're done, then you just have one life. The Hindus who believe in reincarnation, mm-hmm. Maybe you got an option to do that again, but I don't know many reincarnation stories where you come back as a human. But even if you do, you're not that same cat. So it's as if one life.
Right. So yeah. Boom. Live it as if it's a one life, even if you believe in more.
How do you handle dealing it when your polyamorous partner or your partner goes off and does things with another partner, leaving you behind? You can tell us what you think about this by heading over to our Facebook page,
Erotic Awakening Podcast, all one word,
and share your thoughts. That will be posted shortly.
I was writing down notes so I can put this on our Facebook page later.
Good. So, Dawn, I don't know, at Kinky and Geeky last Friday, do you know Chat came up and complained about our podcast?
Not Chat.
She did.
Chat.
Well, she didn't complain about the podcast per se. She said, sometimes when I go to the Erotic Awakening website, I see the video of the podcast.
Okay.
And sometimes I don't. What's up with that?
Okay.
And I explained that sometimes we put most of the time nowadays, due to our wonderful Patreon subscribers, we have this cool camera right there.
Yay.
And we put it out on video most of the time. We don't do it all the time because sometimes the video glitches. I don't want to lose the whole thing, so I'll just post the audio.
Sometimes we talk about a subject and then realize later that's not exactly how we feel. So
it's very true. And chop it and slice and dice. Slicing and dicing video is just not my thing. It's just boring. I'm just not skilled at it. But most of the time, if you head over to the website, you'll get video. And my next step, Patreon subscribers who are throwing a little bit of money our way, I appreciate it. I'm going to be upgrading the audio that you're hearing as well. We were playing with that a little bit. I have some equipment sitting over there, and we are going to bring that equipment in and get some better quality audio for you guys.
Nice. So that's stuff we've been collecting over the last, in January, is it really going to be 10 years? Is it 9 years or 10 years?
I believe we are approaching 10 years of the podcast.
I think we are too. Holy cow. So anyway, we've got some older equipment over there that actually works pretty well that we can try to get to work. No, we're not getting new microphones.
Of course we have to get new equipment. Our Patreon subscribers are not paying for us to put up this old crap. They want the new and shiny.
We know some people that might be starting a podcast. Well, I know a person who might be starting a podcast soon.
You mentioned that.
So Big D.
Oh, right. Yeah.
I'm not allowed to say what it is yet, but we could probably try them out and get them started.
Absolutely.
So,
other than that, the random erotic awakening Instagram follower is why don't you say that word?
Mythius.
Mythius, very cool. You can find us on Instagram and see the picture of the day as Erotic Awakening. By the way, we're not doing a picture of the day every day.
We're not, but I did take that picture and I did put it on my desktop so that I could put it on the Facebook page or Instagram, or you have to do the Instagram. I don't know how to do the Instagram of the original porch.
Yeah.
Or porch time.
I'm going to have to change
it. I've got it. It's just not.
I'm going to change my phone's front end so that the only thing there is the Instagram icon so that I remember, press that button.
Instagram, nice.
Side note, Black Friday came and gone. We went shopping for phones, came back with nothing. We did end up going, boy, do I want to admit this. We did end up going into a Walmart on Thanksgiving for the Black Friday.
Black Friday is not Black Friday anymore. Thursday night before Black Friday is Black Friday.
It is also Black Friday weekend because I am still getting pestered in my inbox saying, don't miss these Black Friday weekend deals.
Yeah. So we went in there to get a projector for our events. It wasn't worth the lines.
No,
it wasn't worth the people. It wasn't worth the lines. So, and then I went in on Black Friday holding my breath because there was something I wanted. And I walked in there expecting the big crowds. Nothing. I got a parking spot up front. Nobody in there. Black Friday is not like it used to be. And I'm okay with that. So.
And we did a little, judgment of consumerism while we're walking around there. I suppose. It's really interesting. It's got nothing to do with the Erotic Awakening podcast. But one, you noticed that all those TVs that people bought and all that stuff they bought, how filled the recycle bins were of all the cardboard.
The next day, oh my God, I couldn't get regular recycling from here at the space into the recycling bins because it's full of TV boxes. Yeah. I'm just picturing all these houses because we live in an okay neighborhood. It's not super expensive, but it's not, probably medium-sized neighborhood. And I'm just picturing TVs in everybody's houses. But it is smart that they took them to the recycle bin. Because you stack those TV boxes out in front of your house and everybody knows you got a TV in every room and Merry Christmas.
Let's move on anyway. For our international listeners, you're fucking lucky you don't have this stupid thing called Black Friday.
Oh, but they're right.
No,
we don't know what they have. No? Oh, yeah.
I've actually been reading a little internet stuff about that.
Ooh, you've been reading. So, yeah, well, our country is based a lot on consumerism.
I will tell you really quickly, and I promise we'll move on and back to fucking and sucking. If you listen to the How Stuff Works podcast, I think it was, Black Friday was actually created in Philadelphia. It was labeled that way by the police department because the people were coming in for something that happened, I guess, for the holiday weekend, and they'd stay all weekend. They'd go into Philadelphia. They'd go shopping. It'd be a big mess. So the police started calling it Black Friday, trying to scare people off of going downtown.
Oh, it didn't scare them off.
No,
at all. That. So do you remember like back in the 80s, like the Cabbage Patch dolls and all that type of stuff? I mean, those type of sales, people like got trampled and just for doll baby.
I want you to picture right now somebody watching this video. Perhaps they have a dildo shoved in their yoni.
We do talk about real stuff too.
What the fuck are they going on about? For fuck's sake! Over to who? Sexy truth or dare?
Sexy truth or dare?
So Dawn, first sexy truth. Are you ready?
Oh, we're gonna do that now?
Yes, I forget which is which. The little one's the truth?
The thin one is the truth.
All right, I got mine.
I got mine.
All right. And then we'll talk about the sexy dares and how we did with those.
Oh,
mine's upside down. I guess I can go first. You ready?
Yeah.
What do you wish someone would have told you about sex way earlier?
That it can be fun. What do you... Oh.
That's what it was.
That's mine. Oh, I wanted you to do it too. But yeah, that it can be fun. I mean, I kind of knew it at the very beginning. The boyfriend in high school, it was fun with him. But then I got into a long-term relationship and it wasn't so much fun. So maybe that it gets better.
Yeah. Okay.
It gets better.
You want to hear my answer regardless?
I would like to hear your answer.
I would have loved somebody to tell me, hey, sometimes my dick doesn't work like I want it to, too.
Oh, I could see that.
Because
for a guy,
as a young fella, mostly I watched porn. And then I had sex for the first time. And I was like, whoa, it didn't work at all like it does on TV. That would have been nice to.
That would have been nice. I could see that.
What's my sexy truth?
Okay, so yours is, how many sex partners do you believe is too many?
How many sex partners do I believe is too many?
Does that mean at one time or over time?
Over time, I'm
okay.
sure. No, I do believe that there is a number there. I guess. Is there a number there? No, I guess it's not a numbers thing. It's because you have to think about intent. If you are having sex. I think, not. Fuck, I don't even know. I don't think I have an answer to that. I don't think there is. If somebody told me, if I was starting to make out with a woman and she said, oh, yeah, boy, let me check. You're going to be number 10,000. That's a milestone for me. I don't think I would look at them like they were a slut in a bad way. But I would look at myself going, damn, I don't know if I want to be 10,000. How am I going to stack up against that?
Right.
Now, part of me, more enlightened me, recognizes that that's not the way that sex works, that you don't have sex with somebody and then you compare, wow, $4.99 was a lot better at eating pussy than number 10,000.
Right.
You experience what you experience. And so I guess I don't have a number.
Okay. So my answer is about the same, right? How many is too many? Who am I to judge? I wish I had more.
So much for sexy truth. Those were not hard.
Those were not hard.
Now, sexy dare, I see on this board, now of course on video, you really can't see these little microscopic things.
Are we going to give the answers away of what we did?
Sexy dare that you had. Now, I think we told them on the podcast what the sexy dares were, or do we not?
We told them what the sexy dares were. We just didn't tell them the results because they had to watch the Patreon video.
Or listen. By the way, I do have a Johnny Jackhammer complained that he could not watch the video.
Right.
So we cannot do video according to Patreon's term of service.
Right.
I currently have an email into their support department to make sure. Can we do audio?
Is that what that email was? Okay.
Yeah. So I'm just making sure that we can do audio.
Because they were. You were going to show them. One was my dare for me to do. Well,
camera.
I'm reading. So how do I read? Pick up any book or magazine in the room and read it with a sexy voice.
Yes. And that's
what I was supposed to do.
And mine was suck your nipple for 60 seconds.
Right.
All we're going to tell you, non-Patreon listeners, sorry, the score is 0-1. And I'm not telling you which way that went.
Exactly.
So here's the dares for this time around.
Okay.
Thicker one, right? All right. Yep. I got mine for you.
Okay. And I've got mine for you.
And again, if you choose not to or cannot subscribe, not subscribe. What's the word I want?
Yeah, subscribe to Patreon.
Sure. Subscribe to our Patreon thing. Become a patron. Cool. It's not a big deal. We're not trying to dick you over by not letting you, we're trying to do the opposite. We're trying to do something a little nice for the people that are putting $1 or $5, whatever, towards us. And, just give them a little something. So,
right.
You ready for your dare, Dawn?
I am ready. What's my dare?
Oh, it's not on my watch at all? Okay.
Okay.
Ready?
Yeah.
Dawn, the dare for you. I dare you to blindfold me and kiss your favorite part of my body for 60 seconds.
I get to blindfold you and kiss a part of your body for 60 seconds.
That's what I'm daring you to do. Now, don't give away whether you're going to do this or not.
Okay.
Not that our listeners have much in the way of doubt on that one.
So, sir,
yes,
I dare you to kiss my neck for 60 seconds.
Can I go to the Halloween store and buy some vampire teeth first?
That'd be fun.
Good. I'm glad to see the answer is yes. Okay. So you will find out if we do those dares and our new score on the subscriber feed over at Patreon. If you're unsure how to get to that, toss us an email or just go to the Patreon link and you'll see an RSS feed. And that way you can get it via your audio device.
Cool. We don't have any new subscribers this week to the newsletter, but if you go to eroticawakening.com, there is a link to join that, and you get your name on the podcast.
So, Dawn, something that's not in your podcast notes that are in mine.
This all the time.
I managed to, believe it or not, listeners and watchers, I managed to squig Dawn out the other day.
He did.
We've been we're fairly open.
We're fairly open-minded. We really are.
We've gone to kink events.
I try.
We've gone to
seen some amazing, odd things.
Seen some amazing things. Seen some things that are like, whoa, okay, cool. Not our thing, but who cares?
Not going to yuck on your yum.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that are out there. As a matter of fact, there's a fair number of things that I'm not into, that I don't really care that you're into it.
Yeah.
Right. But I found a story, and I will give you the short version. And this story made Dawn go, ah!
Sorry.
And sorry if this is your kink.
Sorry.
This may be your kink. But it's one of those things. The short version of it was one person was eating the other person's poop.
And took them totally by surprise.
Yes, and took them by surprise doing that. It was a stealth move there. And the way I explained it to you was
the way you explained it to me was very detailed, and you led into it a little differently. And
so, if that's your thing, great. As a matter of fact, if that's your thing, feel free to reach out to us, and we'll talk to you about it because it's something I've got no experience with. Two, I don't. It's like for me, it's like pony play, right? Mm-hmm. I never understood pony play other than whoa, that's a little wacky. I don't get it until you did it. Then it made sense to me. I'm not going to eat your poop just so I understand it. But I'm more than happy to talk to somebody who does do that and try to understand what the hotness of it is. So there you go. We should have that as a segment on the podcast from now on.
A squigging moment.
Squick Dawn out.
There's not much that squicks me out.
Most recently met was. Hi, I've got to try that again. Not editing this. Listeners that we met most recently were Wesley and Rachel at the Beyond the Love conference a few weeks back, and Blair at Kinky and Geeky.
So, and not that I met this person, but I did have lunch with this person, Ohio Hedgehog.
You had a nice lunch with Ohio Hedgehog.
Yeah. I love having lunches with him. So, long-time podcast listener.
So, Don, and he sent you, jumping over to Tentacles, he sent you a couple links as well, didn't he?
He did. So, every once in a while, Ohio Hedgehog will send me a list of links. And this time, there was a black and white ink drawing of a bound girl with an octopus sitting on top of her, like it wanted to do things to her. So that was hot. Mm-hmm. And then the other one was a comic book strip, right? So it's like a page from a comic book, or I think it's called a graphic novel. Mm-hmm. And it's Cthulhu coming to a house. And the people in the house, and Cthulhu's like, I'm coming to eat you. And the family's like, oh my God, it's Cthulhu. Get the Cthulhu dice game, the Cthulhu Monopoly, the Cthulhu Yahtzee, the Cthulhu this and the Cthulhu that. We're going to get him to sign it. Where did I find this? Where did I find that? And the family was just so excited that Cthulhu was coming to their house. And he's like, oh God, never mind. And he just leaves. So yes, he thought he was going to be horrific. And instead they wanted his autograph.
Yeah.
So that was funny. I loved that. And then Nova, so Ohio Hedgehog is local, and then Nova is also local. And they sent me a picture of a 3D printed octopus. Mm-hmm. And I looked closer, and all of the tentacles of the octopus are giving the finger. So that was cute.
Food on boobs, got none, but I got some last week, so I'm not going to complain.
Oh, the one last week was pretty damn hot.
I had it up on my monitor for quite a while.
That was awesome.
So, Dawn, did you know the Tentacles on Boobs podcast is higher rated than Erotic Awakening?
Tentacles on Boobs? It could be, but I don't want it to be.
Take a moment to support the podcast. Rate us on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, Spotify. By the way, I'm hearing more and more people say they find us on Spotify or wherever you listen.
Or just tell your friends.
So, Dawn, before we get into our topic of the day, we have a formal BDSM dinner coming up. Tell us what in the world that is.
So we actually started this group called Almost Leather, trying to get people a leather experience that don't have it around here in our neck of the woods. And we've had a history lesson for one of the meetings. Mm-hmm. We've had a formal party for one of the events. And now we're going to do a formal dinner. So on Saturday, December 22nd, there's 3 of us slaves that have experience with formal dinners, and we're going to have one here at the space, and we are limited seating. So we've already planned out the full dinner, and it starts with soup and ends with dessert and blah, blah, blah. So we will have people formally seated at the tables, and we'll be giving formal service. And then it's also going to be a fundraiser. So, and then after the dinner, we are going to do a little play party that's for attendees only. So I think it'll be a good time because people will get a sense of the whole power dynamic.
Yeah.
Again, a formal dinner is a really neat way to fulfill that power dynamic that a lot of us are hungry for. Mm-hmm. So, the dominants at the table have their energy. The ones giving service have their energy. And it's just really neat how it sets the tone.
It's much like the BDS, the formal BDSM event we did a month or so ago. It's really hard to describe what it's like unless you're experiencing it.
Unless you're experiencing it, yeah.
But and we've had the opportunity to do this a number of times, and we know other communities, other people do this. It's a really neat experience just to be able to share a social space and a meal in that power exchange setting where those that lead, those that sit at the table are those that sit at the table, and those that serve.
Right.
And there's a distinct separation between the
two.
And it's very much, and when we say there's a separation, it's more of a separation where, and I don't know a lot about dancing, but it's a dance where you have one person leads and the other follows, and it's very clear who's leading and who's following. It's a lot like in a BDSM scene, you have a top and a bottom,
right?
But this is an expansion beyond this, where you do have power tops and power bottoms. And it's been a very neat experience for us so far, and I'm really glad we're bringing that back.
And this is going to be a little bigger than what we've done before, because we've done formal dinners before in our house where we've had, up to 6 or 8 at the table, and 4 to 6 serving, things like that. This one's going to be a little bit bigger than that. So it'll be interesting on how we do it. But one of the people helping also helps to run the afternoon teas at the space. The other one is a producer of Enclave, which is a femdom thing where they do some power exchange meals and things like that. So it'll be really neat dynamic how this all comes together. So I'm really looking forward to it. We had a good time chatting with it today with some of the details and how we're going to do the food and stuff.
If you are listening to this and thinking, man, I want to go to that. If you're a Patreon subscriber, we'll put a discount out there for you. If you're a podcast listener, you need a discount, let us know. No big deal. If you're one of our friends or podcast listeners from not local, and you want to come out all the way to Columbus, Ohio for this, and then crash for the night, I got a spare bedroom or 2. Gotta like cats and dogs.
Gotta like cats and dogs.
Yes.
They're very friendly and very furry. So,
right. So Dawn, let's get this thing wrapped up. Okay. The last thing on our topics today is Buddhism and, well, it's not really Buddhism and kink. It's really
how Dan does Buddhism.
How Dan does Buddhism and power exchange and kink and all the other shit that I do. Yes. So for our podcast listeners, allow me to, or watchers.
Yep. And we actually had a podcast listener ask about this. So they'll be very happy that we're covering this.
One of the questions of the day we asked, somebody said, so for our podcast watchers, I'm going to stand up for a moment and you'll see I am indeed, it looks like I'm wearing a big brown.
Big brown dress.
I am wearing my little robes though. These are my novice monk robes given to me by my teacher, and I wear them often, but not that often.
It's your underrobe and your travel robe.
Yes, the travel robe is what you currently see if you're watching. The underrobe, what my teacher calls the pajamas, is within that. There's other pieces as well, and there's other styles of robes, but this is my day-to-day robe, so to speak.
Maybe one day you'll show your queso, which is in your picture on the website, though.
Well, there you go.
So the gold sash that you wrap yourself
which I need to start practicing putting on again, because I haven't practiced that in a long ass time.
And I'm the one that's been folding it, so as you wear it, I have to remember how to fold it.
We need to get back to practicing that. Side note, by the way.
Yes, sir.
And then pardon us, podcast listeners, as we do a little logistics. Did we meditate today?
No, sir.
No. And tomorrow I'm going to a Zen group in Athens.
Oh, neat.
Didn't mention that earlier. Sorry, podcast listeners. Just a little family logistics there.
So tomorrow evening?
Yes.
Okay, because I have to be at the Submissive Roundtable Fishbowl.
There you go. Okay.
Yep. So got things to do.
So what do you want to know?
So the main
pretending that you're, obviously you know some of this.
I mean, I know some of this stuff. So
what's the main question?
What do I think that everybody else would like to know about what you do?
Should I tell you what the main question is?
I think I know the main question.
What's that?
Is how do you resolve? So a lot of people that follow religious paths, right, have to figure out how their sex life fits in a religious path, right? Some paths say thou shall not, thou shall, usually there shall nots. So what is it in Buddhism that gives you structure around your sex life? How do you balance your Buddhist path with your sex life, or your Buddhist path with your power exchange, or your Buddhist path with your polyamory? How do you make that work?
So the requirement and I happen to study my teacher is a Vietnamese Zen tradition. I'm a part of a Vietnamese Zen tradition.
Right.
And the requirements of a novice monk is to be, prior to becoming a monk, is I have to spend 39 days celibate.
Right, which is going to be my other question, but go ahead.
And if I were to become a monk, then it would be intended, the idea would be I would be celibate all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a monk. I'm a novice monk, so I don't have to be celibate. I don't even have to start the 39 days until I'm ready.
Right.
So in Buddhism, there is no thou shalt not. Buddhism very much, and again, what I'm going to say is in general Buddhism this, and you'll be able to go out there and Google a branch of Buddhism that disagrees with this, and that's fine.
Like any spiritual path.
Like any spiritual path, you'll find, if you dig, for example, the Westboro Baptist?
Something like that.
They're the ones that protest funerals for soldiers and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't look at that and say, here's a shining example of Christianity. You would have to say, yes, this is what some Christians do, but it's not what really most Christians do, right?
Right.
You could find some things that some Buddhists do, right? But in general, the Buddhism's sexuality is wrapped around this idea of avoid sexual misconduct. That's the terminology. Avoid sexual misconduct. And sexual misconduct is normally taken to mean things that cause harm in the way of sexuality. Adultery is something that is considered causing harm.
Which is lying.
Yes.
Right. It's not being with another person. It's being with another person and lying about it.
Well.
And harming
the
original person or whatever.
Right. And that's where it gets, I'll talk about adultery then for a second.
Okay.
But sexual misconduct in general says don't do things that harm other people for sexuality. And mainly don't do sex that is selfish. Right?
Okay.
So you can't lie for the sake of sex and that would be considered sexual misconduct, right?
Mm-hmm.
Having sex with somebody or something that is unable to consent, that would be sexual misconduct.
Okay.
Interestingly, and this is kind of a tiny bit of almost a sidebar, in my tradition, one of the things as a teacher of Buddhism, I have 25, because I am a teacher, 25 precepts or 25 things I have to do.
Okay.
One of them is to not commit adultery. Now, the fun part is adultery is very clearly defined as having sex with anyone that isn't your husband and or wife.
Mm-hmm.
So, tricky, right?
Tricky.
Because I do have sex with people that are not Dawn.
Mm-hmm.
I have sex with my poly partners. I also am not opposed to having sex with people that are not even poly partners. Right now, you and I are not big slutty running around swing types.
I know, we tried.
For me, it is a matter of being having a intent to avoid sexual misconduct and actions that avoid sexual misconduct. So if I have sex with one of my poly partners, all of my poly partners are aware of that, and all of their partners are aware of that.
Mm-hmm.
So there you go. But as far as like anal sex or eating pussy or BDSM or any of that kind of cool shit, threesomes, foursomes, tentacle sex, right? None of that is considered sexual misconduct.
Right.
Because if the intent is positive, if the intent is good, and you're not doing anything to be sneaky and underhanding or selfish, then it's not considered sexual misconduct in my particular tradition, to my understanding.
Nice. So talk a little bit more about the celibacy. So I know you were talking about the 39 days. What does that encompass? If you decide to do the 39 days before ordination, and that's what it's before, right? Before ordination or before the next level up. Does that include BDSM? Does that include sexual energy? What does it include? Have you figured that out yet?
Yes. To step back, why celibacy, I believe, is even on the list is because celibacy, a lack of celibacy, sexual desire leads us to do stupid things, right?
Mm-hmm.
You go look in your newspaper and see how many people doing stupid things because of sexual desire. for me, the 39 days of celibacy is going to be, I think it will be of benefit to be a harsh, no sexual energy, avoiding sexual thought, avoiding sexual contact, avoiding sexual speech, even up to the point of taking a break from the podcast for 39 days.
Oh, wow.
To really be,
right.
Because I really want to see what part of it is because we're experienced. I don't want to say experience junkies, but we dig experience. And that's the experience of celibacy. I want to dig, right? I cannot fuck somebody for 39 days. Who cares? I won't say who cares. You care. But
I care.
I can go 39 days without fucking somebody. Not a
Sure.
big deal. I can go 39 days without jerking off, without having an orgasm. Not a big deal.
Can you go 39 days without flirting with somebody?
That would be what that celibacy would be.
Right.
Right.
So you might not be able to walk out in the space because people are used to you flirting.
Yeah.
And you're used to flirting.
Absolutely.
So, wow.
Now.
Okay.
That would be the celibacy for 39 days thing,
Mm-hmm.
right? I think it'd be a fun experiment regardless.
Okay.
Now, being if I continue the path that I'm on and actually become a monk where celibacy is the norm, we'll talk about that again, but I think it would be the same thing. Okay. Now, the trick is my teacher does not avoid places where sexuality is important, right?
I've seen him around. Nope, he's not avoiding.
Yeah. And it's not a matter of, oh my God, I just saw boobies and I enjoyed them, so beat myself up.
Yeah.
Right? It's more of a matter of recognizing, I noticed that I'm not talking to that person. I'm acknowledging their great tits instead of being engaged with that person for their whole body experience. Really interesting. I saw somebody on Facebook post recently how much they hate getting compliments about how pretty they are and how it's demeaning to them. And my first thought was that's kind of weird. But my second thought is to understand, I think I understand a little bit why somebody would say that. They want to be acknowledged as an entire person, not as an attractive meat sack.
Yeah, I can see that. All
right, what else you got?
So,
is that all the Buddhism stuff?
No. So I have another question for you. Okay, because we are power exchange.
Mm-hmm.
We're total power exchange, master slave.
Yep.
And years ago, I can remember us driving along. I can remember the road. I can remember the buildings, and we were talking about this. And you were telling me that you were really moving forward with being Buddhist. And like I said, this was years ago. And my thought was, how is that going to affect our power exchange, right? So or even our BDSM life, because you're not supposed to inflict harm on anything. And I'm like, oh my God, now I'm not going to get any beatings. I'm not going to get any, how have you,
rationalized?
Yeah, rationalize is a good word, but, and rationalize almost feels like a cop-out word.
Right.
So there's a different word there that I'm looking for. How have you come to a balance with the power exchange and the Buddhism? Because I'm going to tell you, I really had a lot of fear when you had mentioned that this was the path that you were going to follow.
Mm-hmm. My teacher's teacher used to be kinky and into all this stuff that we're into.
And I knew that, okay, keep going, because there's part of that fear that I had in that story.
And is it his slave that
his slave left him? The story is that his slave left him so that he could continue to follow his Buddhist path with no hindrances.
Mm-hmm.
That's not how I first understood it. The first time I was told the story was that they had broken up over Buddhism. And I'm like, oh my God, he kicked his slave out, right? Because it's not part of his thing. And then I learned more of the story and know his slave left him. So
my teacher's teacher used to be in the alternative lifestyle.
Yes.
And is no longer in the alternative lifestyle, no longer has a power exchange dynamic with anyone.
Right.
Other than perhaps my teacher, as a teacher dynamic, right? My teacher is still engaged in the alternative, is still around the alternative lifestyle and still has slaves.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't really have a rationalization. I don't really have how I have come up to being okay with this. I can't find a conflict. And it feels right. It does not feel like anything that is causing harm or lacks compassion or lacks loving kindness, and it actually feels like an expression of those things, an expression of loving kindness. There's a lot of people picture Buddhist as being all about compassion and soft and, but
yeah.
Many, especially Zen teachers, seek Satori, seek that enlightenment via this, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're falling asleep while you were meditating, so I'm going to smack you with the kobe-tan, the big stick, right? So it's one of those things where the neat thing about Buddhism is there's no single Bible that says thou shalt do this and not do this.
Right.
Right. And I really can't find a conflict, so it feels okay.
Okay.
I guess it's because I feel that the role of master slave is a teacher role and it's a caregiver role, and therefore it's not a harmful role.
Okay.
Best I got.
So as a compassionate Buddhist master, do you find yourself walking on eggshells with me more as a slave?
No, not at all.
No, that's one of my things. I don't want someone walking on eggshells around me. So, and now you're doing everything to incorporate metta and compassion and things like that. So do you see that? I'm not saying that I've seen.
No, I would say that if anything, I am, because they are a more of a focus to me, I'm making sure they are more of a focus to you, because it's valuable for my slave to think and be better. Example, somebody wrote you an email yesterday that you took offense to. You
Absolutely.
said, this person, that thing from the 4 Agreements, don't take things personally.
I'm taking things personally.
You had most of that sentence down correctly, with the exception of the don't. Right? So
that's true.
The Buddhist master, it's not a matter of being more compassionate, but it's a matter of seeing things more clearly and to recognizing you were not seeing that situation clearly. You were seeing it from a perspective, from I am being attacked perspective.
Mm-hmm.
So my role there as your master is to say, no, see things more clearly. And you were unable to do that. So I took the laptop and I wrote a response to them and handed it back to you and say, this is what I would say.
Mm-hmm.
It's, to me, the compassionate part is not about poor honey, I can see that you're struggling with this issue. I'm sorry that it hurts.
Mm-hmm.
The compassionate part can come later after we align ourselves to what the master wants. And in this case, happens to be a Buddhist master, where recognize what that person, why did that person send that? They sent it because they were hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Period. Doesn't matter why, if it was appropriate that they were hurt, if they taking things the wrong way, if they don't have, you don't have the right to be bothered by that. None of that's all bullshit. They were hurt. They have taken their hurt and they've given it to you. What are you going to do with that? Compound it or alleviate it? Did they ever reply back, by the way?
No.
Okay.
So, cool. So do you have anything that I think I've covered anything that people that have been interested would have asked.
Other little
do you
bits?
have anything that you want to share?
I don't play when I'm in my robes. I don't do BDSM play when I'm in my robes, nor will I go into I had to learn this, what's appropriate, what's not appropriate. I will go to BDSM events, kink events, power exchange events in my robes.
Right.
There's no conflict with that. It's who I am. When I'm working the space as the host, I don't wear my robes because I want people to, they're not there to be ministered to by a monk. Mm-hmm. They're there to have a kinky old time.
Right.
Good for them. Have a kinky old time. How can I be part of that? I don't initiate sex when I'm in my robes, nor do I allow sex to be initiated when I'm in my robes. Mm-hmm. And people are still dancing a little bit with that. Specifically, Kat is trying to figure out if she sees me and I'm wearing my robes, can she give me a hug? Can she give me a kiss? Can she hold my hand? Right? Mm-hmm.
It's interesting, though, because I've actually seen this from the outside, in that you wore your robes to a kinky event, and I'm used to seeing everybody flirt with you all the time, right? Just all levels of flirting. So I've gotten used to it over time. You wore your robes, no flirting. The moment you took off your robes and put on jeans and a t-shirt, flirting commenced. So that was really neat to watch, how to watch people. I never really saw people like be standoffish, but they just didn't flock to you like they usually do until you were in regular clothes. And so I don't know if your energy shifted, if their perception shifted, if they didn't realize you were the same person.
I think both shifted. And trust me, that was one of those times where I had a little doubts about this whole Buddhism thing, because I like being the guy that flirts and people flirt with and they find attractive. I like being that guy. To not be that guy, but that's kind of what the whole fucking thing's about, isn't it?
Right.
It's stripping down of the ego and saying, you know what, you are not your meat suit. You are not that. You're not the person that everybody flirts with or that flirts with everybody. You know, that's just this face that you have, that you wear on occasion.
Right.
Right. So now when you take away that face, what's left? That kind of thing.
Kind of neat.
The other interesting bit, though, is that I'm still working that out for myself with my inner. So you have, you go to an event and you have people that you kind of don't even know that will flirt with you.
Right. Right.
And then you have the people at the space that I've known for months and years that I've been flirting with consistently. Right. And then I tend to let them know when I see them, when I'm wearing my robes, I kind of am like still flirting, but it's more of a chore to let them know it's okay. I'm still just Dan. I'm still working on that one. So it's really been interesting. It's been an interesting thing.
Neat. So any final words?
It's been a really interesting experience so far. Because I look at things like, is this podcast, is the podcast going to suffer? Right? Because there's people out there that are very into religion. All religion's bad, right? This might be a big turnoff for them. I have no doubt there's people out there listening now that identify as Buddhists, say, well, you're a bad Buddhist,
well, they're listening.
Well, you're still listening. We've been to an event and I was wearing my robes for part of the event, and I had somebody say, well, you're a bad Buddhist because you did this thing at the event, So to take a look at that, and all that shit's very interesting. But to let it be interesting, to say, you know what? And I posted this on the old Force book the other day, that for me, the big key is Buddhism is not a religion where you say, I am a Buddhist, or where you wear robes. It's really got nothing to do with it.
Right.
Buddhism is a religion or a philosophy, depending on where you lean in this, that is a action. It is a set of actions, right? For me to go up and say, I am a Buddhist has no value whatsoever. It might be a conversation starter.
True.
But when I sit in the hot tub and read my Dharma book, or I choose to listen to a Dharma talk on a podcast versus an episode of Wait, Don't Tell Me, that's what being a Buddhist is about. When somebody wants to talk and you sit down and you talk to them. When you wear your robes to an event, so that people will, because maybe nobody will flirt with you, but I had a couple of those really good conversations.
You had some really good, deep conversations. So
that's
really awesome.
So that's what being a Buddhist is. Finally, the last thing I want to say is that fat guy, the fat Chinese guy, it's not Buddha. I know, right? That fucked me up for a while. I thought it was too. It's not. It's a cat. It's a Chinese monk who, I won't go into it. His name ain't Buddha, though. Buddha's the thin one. He's like, needs to eat more, I guess. I don't know.
So awesome. And I'm actually going to find it interesting if you and I decide to have a conversation. You're in your monk robes. I'm in my Kadishti robes. So, because you're talking about moments of celibacy and not flirting, I'm still moving more towards the sacred sexuality path. So, that's kind of interesting to me how that's going to work with us as a couple. So we shall see. But I hope that answered questions. If not, and you have questions that I didn't cover or didn't think of, because I'm kind of living it with them at the moment, so I may not think of, questions someone else might be thinking of, let us know and just write us on eroticawakening.com. There should be a contact us form there.
Absolutely. Bye, Dawn.
Bye, Dan.
I hope it took the audio.
I hope so too.